Shia LaBeouf is an abusive person. He hurts women, he uses them, abuses them both physically and emotionally, and once he's done with them, he moves on to the next one to repeat the same cycle. Or at least that's what British musician and LaBeouf's ex-partner FKA Twigs has alleged in a lawsuit she filed last month. Shortly after the lawsuit was revealed by the New York Times, Australian singer-songwriter Sia, who worked with Shia in 2015, tweeted additional accusations against the actor. She called him a pathological liar who lied to her about his relationship status while they briefly dated. She would have never dated him if she realized he was married at the time to Mia Goth. But of course, Shia failed to mention that little detail. The recent allegations waged against the troubled actor are the latest in a dark and violent chain of misdemeanors that have plagued LeBeouf for years. But LeBeouf has dug his own grave. He could have been one of the biggest stars in the world. He had the path laid out for him, but his inability to exercise self-control and treat others with respect has dashed that hope to pieces. Keep watching to find out how. LeBeouf was all set to be Hollywood's next big leading man. Shia rose to fame after starring on Disney Channel's Even Stevens 2 decades ago. Some child actors just fizzle out when they reach adulthood, but LeBeouf was privileged with the opportunity to work with some big-name directors from an early age. In 2007, he teamed up with Steven Spielberg in the suspense thriller film Disturbia. Then, Shia got the opportunity of a lifetime when he landed the lead role in Michael Bay's Transformers franchise. In 2008, he got to work with 2 more legends, Harrison Ford and George Lucas, on Indiana Jones' Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The film failed to impress, but it sure gave Shia some great exposure. The sky was the limit for the young actor. In 2007, when he was just 21, Vanity Fair put Shia on the cover of their magazine with a caption that read, "The next Tom Hanks." Can you imagine being under that kind of pressure? Shia wasn't just a recognizable name and face. He was also the kind of actor who could bring his peers to the movie theater and sell tickets. His films have grossed more than $1 billion worldwide, and he's a large reason why they've been so successful. LeBeouf profited from all that success as well. In 2011 alone, it was reported Shia took home a whopping $15 million for appearing in Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Not to get derailed, but if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to our channel. And make sure you keep watching to find out why Netflix has suddenly decided to cut ties with Shia LaBeouf. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, let's see when LaBeouf's pattern of violence first started to become obvious. Growing red flags. Just a few years after starring in Dark of the Moon, Shia's rap sheet started to get longer and longer. Previously, he had only been convicted of relatively benign juvenile offenses, but as time went on, he started racking up DUIs, assault charges, and repeated convictions related to public intoxication. It was becoming clear Shia had developed a drinking problem. While he was contracted with Disney, his roles were exclusively of the family-friendly variety. But once he had moved on from that chapter in his career, another side of the entertainment industry opened up. This side appeared to reward his extreme and violent behavior with film roles that would tap into that energy. In 2012, he played a rough-and-tumble, violent moonshiner during Prohibition times in Lawless. His unhinged behavior on set, however, which allegedly included some naked wrestling with his co-star Tom Hardy, was so disconcerting that Shia's female co-star even requested to leave the film. LaBeouf attempted to explain his behavior later, claiming he was attempting to get into character by what he called method drinking, and that he just wanted to give himself an authentic drunk bloat look. Always taking things too far. Once again, stories of his erratic on-set behavior found their way to the press. To get into character for Fury, LaBeouf admittedly slashed his own face, pulled one of his teeth out, and refused to bathe for weeks on end. Both David Ayer, the film's director, and Brad Pitt had to repeatedly warn Shia about his behavior while on set. Several months later, Shia once again found himself in the headlines after a video was leaked by Entertainment Tonight of he and his ex, Mia Goth, arguing in Germany. At one point, Shia can clearly be heard saying, "This is the kind of thing that makes someone abusive." Later on in the same video, after LaBeouf leaves the scene of the incident, he says that if he had stayed there any longer, he would have killed her. Not long after that video dropped, Shia received some of the most flattering reviews of his entire career for his unnerving performance in Andrea Arnold's road epic American Honey. In the film, LaBeouf plays a violent and unpredictable drifter. Even LaBeouf himself began to notice the disturbed trend of his bad behavior seemingly being rewarded by the film industry. In a 2016 interview he did with Variety, he acknowledged the only reason he was working with such great directors had something to do with the fact that that he kept messing up and winding up on the front pages of the tabloids. He explained, "They wanted a fireball. They wanted a loose cannon." Of course, just being aware of that pattern wasn't enough for Shia to change his ways. In that same interview, he also touched on his troubles with alcohol. He hypothesized that a huge part of his problem has been a result of what he called bad posturing. He further explained he never really knew how to drink, nor did he like drinking, but he knew that if he wanted to be successful in the entertainment industry, he had to drink. Shia might be hit with criminal charges. FKA Twigs' accusation in her lawsuit against Shia are not only unsettling, they're also numerous. Legal experts say he's unlikely to face any legal consequences for his actions, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. There still remains a slim chance criminal charges might be leveled against the actor. Domestic abuse and sexual assault are sadly two of the most underreported crimes. The victims of such crimes rarely ever come forward to testify. Sadly, these crimes are also the most falsely reported ones as well, making it particularly difficult for a prosecutor to prove that an assault or violence actually took place without physical evidence. Granted, Twigs just might have a convincing case on her hands following Shia's startling personal admission to the Times that he has a history of hurting the people closest to him. Another one of his accusers and former lovers, stylist Carolyn Foe, has also come forward with similar tales of Shia's violent behavior. On one occasion, a very drunk Shia allegedly pinned her to a bed and repeatedly headbutted her until she was bleeding. Netflix says no more. Shia LaBeouf has responded to the claims waged against him in the Times by saying many of the allegations made against him are not true. This appears to be in stark contrast with the apologetic rhetoric he has dispensed previously. Just days after the allegations broke, Netflix completely removed LaBeouf's name from all the promotional materials for Pieces of a Woman. His name is no longer featured in the synopsis, and he's been removed from the film's For Your Consideration award ads. The streaming service had to take quick action. These days, studios can't turn a blind eye to allegations of abuse and violence like they once did. But for all of those who were already victims of abuse at the hands of Hollywood elites, this recent change of heart in the industry might be seen as being too little, too late. So what's next for Shia LaBeouf? Only time will tell, but hopefully this can be the jarring wake-up call he needs to make radical changes to his behavior. Perhaps he'd benefit from a stay at a long-term inpatient rehab facility, or at least that's what he was considering doing back in December. Anyway, we'd love to hear from you. Do you think violent and abusive people like Shia LaBeouf can turn a new leaf and change their ways? Or do you believe the whole once an abuser, always an abuser thing? Let us know what you think in the comments section. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Tap the bell icon to turn on notifications to stay updated on all our latest content.